Hey MCE crew, you might hear some machinery in the background. It shouldn't get too intense. But look, let's talk about Joe Bananas. I heard Styx Hexenhammer refer to him as Joe Bananas. And I think that's a very apt title for the buffoon that we have occupying 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Biden says there is no rational basis for 9mm ammo in self-defense. Now, as you know, 9mm is one of the smallest calibers, but old Joe says that we don't even need that. This is the idiot that came out and gave Americans advice years ago to just come out of the house and fire off a couple of rounds from your 12-gauge shotgun if you thought that you were being threatened. Now, if you follow his advice, in most places in America, you will be arrested. So I wouldn't, and that's when Joe was more sane, but he's always been stupid. In spontaneous remarks, that's what always gets him in trouble, on the White House lawn Sunday morning, President Joe Biden pointed his shaky gun control sights at the most popular self-defense cartridge in America. Now, you might be saying, Tyrone, why does this matter? Go back and watch the video we did where we explained how the Second Amendment is integral to your economic freedom. We did a whole history lesson. Go back and check it out. Share it with friends, because I think the things I was talking about in that video, YouTube definitely ain't promoting that video. Recalling a trip to New York, to a New York trauma center, Joe Biden said, they said a .22 caliber bullet will lodge in the lung, and we can probably get it out. Maybe able to get it and save the life of the gang member who just tried to kill you. A 9mm bullet blows the lung out of the body. So the idea of these high caliber weapons is there's simply no rational basis for it in terms of self-protection. Hunting. Okay? Don't ask me why you put hunting there. Who hunts with a 9mm? But anyway, listen, liberals and those who favor gun control seem to have a problem with the purpose of a firearm. And let's just be clear. The purpose of any firearm is to, how do I want to put this so that we won't offend the YouTube sensibilities, is to remove you from this existence. Okay, I know a lot of people sit around and watch a lot of movies and whatnot and shoot at the leg. You should have shot him in the leg. No kind of understanding that the femoral artery is in the leg, and that may very well end up killing the person anyway. It's not the first time Biden has condemned 9mm weapons. In 2019, Biden noted that Americans aren't allowed to own machine guns or bazookas before asking, and this is a Biden quote, why should we allow people to have military-style weapons, including pistols with 9mm bullets, and can hold 10 or more rounds? So, look, an attack vector is being exposed here. They don't want you to have anything. Canada, Justin Trudeau, Fidel Castro's illegitimate bastard child, he recently announced that they were going to basically outlaw all handgun sales, okay, new handgun sales. Not a ban, okay, on the ones that are already in possession of Canadians, because how do you enforce that? Okay, who goes around and who's going to accept the order? Go into the neighborhoods and collect the handguns. Who's doing that? Okay, this ain't Australia. The Canadians showed true grit during that whole trucker thing. Okay, Australia, you just tell them we're coming to get the guns. Better yet, no, we're not coming to get them. You're going to bring them down here and drop them off. And that's exactly what the Australians did. You're an Australian, you know that's right. Go ahead and weigh in the comments. According to Shooting Industry magazine, 9mm Biden moment, pistols accounted for 56.8% of all handguns made in the U.S. during 2019. In all, more than 15.1 million 9mm guns were produced in this country during the 2010s. There are more guns in this country than there are people. Now, Okay, we talked about the fact that you don't want to give up your Second Amendment rights simply because, um, go back and watch a video. It is going to be very deleterious to your economic freedom. It always has been. Just give you a little preview. There were groups in this country who had their labor stolen. One thing I didn't mention in that video was the internment camps, where basically the United States said, hey, if you're of Japanese or Italian or German heritage, you've got to go into this camp, and we're going to take your possessions from you. And you ask people who lived through that time, or some of the descendants of folk who lived through that time, people didn't get their possessions back. It might have been spotty, but no one was made whole, okay? And that was during a time where people were looked at with great suspicion if you were from one of the, if you were descended from one of the Axis powers. So again, the United States has definitely demonstrated what it's capable of. We're not talking about any other country. We're talking about the United States of America. Now, another reason why you don't want to give up your ability to protect yourself and your family is because it's a jungle out there. Now, of course, President Biden, he shows up at certain mass shootings. Now, mind you, the FBI classifies a mass shooting as 4 or more who have been injured in the shooting, excluding the shooter. All right? So, quite frankly, look, mass shootings happen all the time in places like Baltimore, in places like Chicago, New Orleans, Detroit, on and on and on. All of these, notice how all of these urban centers that are run by Democrats, and in the case of Baltimore, black Democrats, okay? There ain't a white Republican anywhere in sight running anything. Every position of power, from the police chief, city council president, state's attorney, mayor, the majority of the city council, dog catcher, all run by black Democrats, okay? So do you really think they have the answers? If they did, why aren't they demonstrating that? At least 52 people were shot and 10 were killed in separate shootings across Chicago over the Memorial Day weekend, officials said Tuesday. One of the victims, Jeremy Benson, a 33-year-old, was shot and killed on Sunday morning while he was driving in the West Garfield Park neighborhood. Officials said, according to the Chicago Sun-Times. As he was driving, he was shot and crashed into a median before he was rushed to Mount Sinai, where he was pronounced dead. So tyranny comes in all kinds of forms. Now, of course, if the ne'er-do-wells out there, the villains, the savages, deprive you of your number one asset, your life, then your family is going to be financially impacted, okay? You are going to be financially impacted by being abbreviated out of this existence. So I wonder, is Joe Bananas going to, and if I haven't mentioned this, Styx Hexenhammer came up with that. I heard him say that, and I just want to give him credit because I think it's brilliant. But will Joe Bananas be going to Chicago? Will he be coming? We had half a mass shooting here a few days ago where in the Inner Harbor area, which is the jewel of Baltimore, in the Inner Harbor area, we had 2 young people shot. One of them died, okay? The other is, I believe, still in the hospital. So, what's the solution? You know, we always talk about solutions. We're going to have one here in a minute. The solution is simple. You can protest by going out and getting yourself a firearm, okay? And if you already have firearms, I heard someone say that I've got enough ammo. I don't believe you can ever have enough ammo unless you are drowning or on fire. Those are the only 2 conditions in which you can have too much ammo. Otherwise, go out there, stimulate America, buy some good old American-made ammunition and firearms. If you already got a few firearms, buy another. Okay, that is the clearest form of protest that you can lodge and let this government know that you take your economic security, your personal safety, and the personal safety of your family very seriously. Hey, look, they're not doing anything. The police are not being too proactive, are they, in terms of fighting crime? And there are a lot of reasons for that. Okay, we're not going to go into that here, but there are a lot of reasons for that. And therefore, you're on your own. So I'm not suggesting that you go out here and act like ability of the kid or anything like that, you better check the laws in your state, because some of you live in these little communist enclaves like California or New York, where if they don't care anything about your economic liberty in the first place, so they damn sure don't care about your personal security. And it is very onerous to own a firearm in those jurisdictions. You as a law-abiding citizen probably will get locked up if you defend yourself from the trash that the city councils and police departments can't defend you from. If you take it upon yourself in certain places, you could end up in jail. So check your laws in your local jurisdiction. And you might want to think about getting the hell out of there. Okay, remember how people used to escape East Berlin? And they used to, run through the minefield, jump over the barbed wire to get over that wall. This is what it basically, there's a metaphoric minefield, a liberal minefield of high taxation, total disregard for you as a citizen, you and your liberty. So you got to get out of there if you can. Don't get locked into just being in some place because that's where you were born and that's where your family was raised. Go to where you're respected. Go to where your money is and your liberty is respected. Now let's move on. Food shortages. We're going to talk about this because if you're hungry, you're not thinking about watching Money Changes Everything. So we kind of talked about in an early episode these it seems like we've got a ramp up of an increase in food processing plant fires and catastrophes that take food processing infrastructure offline. Got another one here, massive fire. Another Biden moment. See, I shouldn't be joking about him. It's wearing off on me. Hopefully not. Massive fire breaks out at poultry farm that supplies eggs to major supermarkets. A poultry farm in Howard Lake, Minnesota, that supplies the nation's largest supermarkets with 3 million eggs per day, experienced a devastating fire over the weekend. Forsman Farms spokesman John Austin told local media outlet KARE that estimates aren't firm yet, but anywhere between, quote, tens of thousands of chickens were killed, up to a couple hundreds of thousands, unquote. The spokesperson continued and said chickens in adjacent barns were affected by smoke inhalation. Okay, so lots of chickens taken offline. They're not really saying how many eggs are coming offline because of that. Oh, wait a minute. It's unclear exactly how the fire started, though impacts could be felt at supermarkets this year alone. Retail egg prices have soared 41% because of the deadly bird flu wreaking havoc on the country's egg-laying hen flock. Let's see. So we've got that. We got the bird flu. We've got the fires, okay, at the processing plants. Google that. Or better yet, maybe DuckDuckGo it. Google's going to lead you to a article by Snopes. And Snopes is like two people in their living room. It's not like a glass tower organization. And they're they play games with semantics and words. And when I read the article, because look, I don't want to suffer from confirmation bias, but when I read that Snopes article on the food processing plant disasters, they said, well, this is not unusual. So I'm thinking, okay, all right. But then they only went back to 2019. So it's like, well, unless you can go back further than that, this does seem like a new phenomenon. Okay, relatively speaking, 2019 wasn't that long ago. So, store food, okay? Grow food. Start producing some of your own food. When it comes to meat, because that's a difficult one, okay? You probably don't have the skill, the space, or even the inclination to raise cows, chickens, or pigs, okay? Or lambs or whatever for meat. Some of you might fish. But do you fish to the extent, is it a recreational hobby or is it for sustenance? Okay, probably the former. So what do? Well, you got to research different farms in your area that grow their own or, raise their own livestock. There are several in my neighborhood. I'm sure there are some in yours. You might have to travel. You might have to spend a little more than you would at the grocery store. But if you buy in bulk, got yourself a freezer, that could work out. The wholesale clubs still are going to be able to give you a better buy than you might get elsewhere if, again, you're willing to buy in bulk. Okay? Some article I read from some, and I don't even remember the publication, but they were saying that don't buy in bulk because most of the time you're going to waste it and it's going to be a waste of money. Well, don't waste it. Okay? Therefore, don't waste money. You might want to enter into a relationship with friends, okay, or relatives, a combination of both, so that you can put money in and then defray the cost even further. Because when you do that, you have shored up your food security and made sure you still have money to purchase assets. Throughout this whole thing, no matter what happens, we got to continue to purchase assets. And don't let them fool you. Don't let them scare you. And by them, I mean the Davos crowd, the IMF, the World Economic Forum, the Biden administration. Nobody. Don't let them scare you into thinking that recession means that you should just take your cash and hold it close to your vest. Absolutely. You should be doing the research necessary, your due diligence, to find assets that are relatively inexpensive because of the economic turmoil that we're facing right now. Because this is going to end at some point, and you want to be positioned to own assets that will take off after this clown and his clown posse leaves office. And hopefully the posse will start to exit in November. And again, people, I am not saying that the Republicans are the answer. In fact, the Republicans will get in there and be as mealy-mouthed and weak-kneed and spineless as they ever have been. But I would prefer no action to what we're seeing today, okay? I would prefer the Republicans getting there and get under pressure to stop spending our money on so many frivolous things, so that taxes are gonna increase anyway. And I would be remiss if I didn't close this out by telling you, you had better figure out a way to reduce your future taxation, because taxes are going up. And as I always say, one of the best instruments to do that is an insurance policy, a properly structured, permanent insurance policy. If you want more information about that, mcenow.com. We can clue you in and give you some more information. All right, so it is a beautiful day. The sun is pretty much behind the clouds. I have a webinar that I have to get to. I'll let you guys know in the community section. We got one coming up on generational wealth. I'm going to put it in the community section. Register for it. Registration is free. I'm going to enjoy the remainder of my adult beverage, get on this webinar, and then eat some Thai food that I'm preparing. I'm not going out to get it. I know how to read a recipe. All right, guys, I will talk to you soon.